Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Hey, Thriving Farmers, Michael Kilpatrick here with another episode of the Thriving Farmer Podcast. Today, my guest is Nathan. Nathan Hirsch is a lifelong entrepreneur and is on a mission to make entrepreneurship simple for millions. Nathan is best known for co-founding FreeUp.net in 2015 with an initial $5,000 investment, scaling it to a $12 million in yearly revenue and having it acquired in 2019. Today, he owns a portfolio of companies with his partner, Connor Gullivan. A few of you might know Ecom Balance and Accounts Balance, 2 monthly bookkeeping services, and Outsource School, access to Nathan's hiring process and SOPs, and Trio SEO, a premium blog writing service. Nathan has appeared on 900 plus podcasts, and you can follow him on social media and at nathanhirsch.com. Nathan, welcome.
Michael, thanks so much for having me. I was telling you before, you've always supported me in everything I do, and I really appreciate that. And thanks for being a client. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I wanted to prioritize this before the holidays, and it should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, we appreciate that. So I think obviously the reason we're having you on is that we actually have all our bookkeeping through you. So we want to talk about that. We'll get to that. But the first business you guys had was you were doing Amazon selling. Is that correct?
Yeah, Connor and I met in college, and I was selling textbooks on Amazon and competing with my school bookstore. Got a cease and desist letter from my college telling me to knock it off. And I had this Amazon account, and I had only sold books up until that point. I started experimenting what else I could sell, and luckily I came across baby products and toys, and that really took off. And it's kind of funny now that I have a 15-month-old, I'm buying all the same stuff that I used to sell 10, 15 years ago. But that was how I first started being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So you stopped the book sales.
Stopped the book sales. The books lasted a good year or two, a few semesters, some nice beer money in college, and then pivoted to baby products, toys, and a little bit of home goods.
Yeah. Okay. And then you guys realized that a lot of what you were doing could be done by someone with the systems and processes you put in place for them. So talk a little bit about that shift.
So originally started my first busy season. I don't think Cyber Monday was a thing, but Black Friday was. And I just got destroyed. It was just me. And I was working pretty much 24/7. My grades went down. My social life was gone. I had to keep this business alive because Amazon will shut you down if you get bad reviews or shipments are late.
Ooh, yeah.
So in the back of my mind, I was like, this is it. I'm making more money than any college kid should. But if I let my foot off the gas, they're going to suspend me. So make it out to the other side. And I think to myself, man, I can never let that happen again. I need to start hiring people. And that's actually how I came across my business partner, Connor. He was my first hire. And I eventually made him my business partner. We had a lot in common. But I didn't have an interview process. I knew nothing about hiring people or employees or payroll or anything like that. And I just got lucky with Connor. Well, I proceeded to hire a bunch of college kids, and that was a disaster. They were late all the time. They were smoking weed on the job. I would have to wake them up in their dorm room. Like every possible college story you could imagine happened. And I was too scared to hire adults. I was 20. I didn't know anything about hiring a 40-year-old to work for me. So a buddy of mine introduced me to a VA in the Philippines who introduced me to another VA where I met Chicky Ann, one of my best hires of all time, and got introduced to the wonderful world of virtual assistants and really set out to build this whole business around virtual assistants. And that's what I did. And not to get too far ahead, but then other people started selling on Amazon. All these courses came out. People finally learned what Amazon was after I'd been doing it for 5 years. And I started to offer my VAs to them.
Gotcha. And so then you were offering your VA to those type of people and then to online entrepreneurs. And then, I think we have 3 or 4 people that we still use in our team that are through FreeUp, actually, through my online business. We've got one that's a general VA, one that does video editing, and a few others. So you kind of expanded those services as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll also add our non-compete with FreeUp is up. So we might be getting back into that space. I don't have a business name or anything, but something cool on the horizon. But yeah, we kind of saw the writing on the wall from the Amazon side. It was a great first business. I couldn't be happier. A nice cash cow, but we were never selling our own products. We never made our own products. We were selling other people's toys and baby products, and these are all US manufacturers. They realized over time they didn't need us. They could just sell directly on Amazon. And so we kind of saw the writing on the wall. But we saw Upwork and Fiverr, they were getting traction. They went public right as we launched. And we kind of saw that business model as, hey, if we can get pre-vetted VAs that know e-commerce for all these e-commerce sellers that are flooding in every year, that it could be a profitable business. And yeah, like you said, we started off just Amazon, then they expanded to like Shopify and Walmart. And then from there, like you got marketing agencies and SaaS. And by the time we sold it, we were big in like the ClickUp community and all that. So started off in a small niche and branched out.
Yeah. Okay. So to make all this possible, though, you had to have system processes and procedures. Talk a little bit about that and kind of like how you develop those.
Yeah, we're all, Connor and I, we're system and process people. Everything has an SOP, and our SOPs are broken down into why are they doing this task. You'd be surprised how many people will hire someone and give them a job without telling them the why. Like, what does success look like? What does failure look like? I'll even throw in if the hire before didn't work out, I'll put in why it didn't work out. So they know exactly what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Then the ABCs, Ds, and that'll change over time, the different steps of the task. And I like to hire people that can take ownership of it, because as you get bigger and bigger, you can't be in charge of all of your SOPs. And then lastly, the important reminders, the do not do's for any reason. This was a big one I learned from the Amazon business, where it's like, do not email seller performance for any reason to like my customer service team that I didn't put in there, and someone fired off an email and it got us flagged. So kind of that's how I break down the SOPs, and really giving each team leader ownership of the SOPs, and they had to update it every quarter. So when we went to sell the company and got through due diligence, we had 50 pages plus of SOPs of this is how billing works, this is how customer service works, this is how Nate's inbox works. Every little thing was mapped out, and that's what really helps you scale.
Interesting. Yeah, we recently had an issue where a new hire, he's fabulous, we love him on the team, but he started processing a specific product and ended up throwing hundreds of pounds away because he thought it was bad. So we need in the don't do is, if you cut or process more than 10 pounds and you're saying it's all bad, get Michael to look at it.
Right.
So yes, that's a really good part that we do not have in our SOPs that we should add.
Yeah, those things are important, because what's common sense to you, the entrepreneur, isn't necessarily common sense to someone else. And people have other jobs. What's important to a different business owner is not the same thing as important to you. So you really need those reminders, and you don't want to just hide them in the steps. You want, hey, these are the important things you need to know if you're doing these tasks.
Absolutely. All right. Now, for your SOPs, do you prefer just Google Docs with links to Looms and pictures and stuff?
Yeah, keep it simple. Google Docs, a Loom. It's funny. One of my non-successful businesses was actually an SOP building software, and we kind of realized it was unnecessary, and Google Docs and Looms are easier. You can always go crazy with Notion, and there's a bunch of other SOP documents, but at least to start, Google Docs, Loom, you can always upgrade later.
That's right. That did come and then just disappeared.
Yeah, it happens. It's part of being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
No one just has success with everything.
Yeah. All right. So then you got that, and you shift into doing bookkeeping. So talk to us why you picked that niche after selling FreeUp. Yeah.
So the FreeUp, let me back up. The Amazon business, we had this great business. We knew nothing about bookkeeping or accounting. We hired our CPA in Connecticut, who we still use and love, and I refer. But bookkeeping was a disaster. I started off doing it myself and ignoring it, and then passing it off to college kids, and then I would dump it on my CPA at the end of the year, and then I hired a bookkeeper quarterly. And it wasn't until the last few years of my Amazon business that I had a monthly bookkeeper, and it changed everything. I knew exactly how much I was making. I could make decisions in real time, and I wouldn't have to stress during tax season. Well, fast forward ahead when we started FreeUp, me being an entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur, hopefully learning, I said, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to hire a good bookkeeper from day one. I don't know if FreeUp's going to work out, but that's an expense. It's going to be there. And that ended up being one of the best business decisions I ever made. Not only did it help us scale quickly and know in that first year how we were doing every single month, but when we went to sell the company, we had 4 years of immaculate books going back to the first day. And not only that, but we knew our numbers inside and out because we had been looking at them together every single month. So those initial calls with the buyers, when they asked us questions, we didn't have the books in front of us. We gave them the information to the best of our ability. And then when they got into the books, it matched exactly what was on the call. So
Yeah.
we kind of saw the power of clean books just going through that sale. And once we sold it, we said, hey, we can offer the same thing to e-commerce sellers. We come from the e-commerce space. We know the importance of bookkeeping, and then eventually a spin-off accounts balance for the agency and SaaS world, which we've become a part of it as well, a lower price point because it's not as complicated. So it really just came from our own bookkeeping, and I have a whole holding company of businesses now, and my bookkeeping business does the bookkeeping for all of them. So I like to offer services that I actually use inside my own company.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so then you mentioned something there that because you're having monthly bookkeeping, you can know your numbers and you can see where things are heading and all of that, because that's so important. And I think that's important for if you want to sell the business. Many of the farmers we work with, they're probably not interested in selling, but I think what's important for them is knowing how they're doing financially. Like, hey, yes, you have higher than expenses in this category this month, or hey, your cash flow keeps going down. What's going on? Those are the kinds of things they need to know. We got into a little bit of issue because our bookkeeper got behind in the books and we weren't paying attention, and then we got into a cash crunch. And again, the business overall is a healthy business, but because we weren't paying attention, we spent a few too many expenses and capital expenditures, which caused us problems in the day-to-day running of the company.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like, there's lots of reasons to have clean books. You can get funding, get investments, sell your company. It makes tax season less stressful. But most people don't go through a sale or don't get funding. The real reason to have clean books is decisions every single month. You should have a meeting on your calendar with your business partner, investors, whoever, and you go through your books at that meeting. You're not just making decisions based off gut, on instinct, on looking at the bank account. You're making decisions based on what the numbers are telling you every single month. And that's really the key. Like, I would never start a business without a bookkeeper. And you hear a lot of people that are like, oh, I'll do it myself for a while. I'll start hiring a bookkeeper at the end of year one. That first year is so important. Where you spend your time is so important. The decisions you make are so important. You have to make sure that the numbers are accurate and you're making decisions based on them.
Okay, and we talk about clean books. Let's give it a definition for what that actually means.
Yeah, just accurate books. Accurate and on time. That's our key. Accurate, on time, great customer service. Like, our bookkeepers respond with their business day because people have questions. People, it's the lifeblood of your company. You need fast responses. So for me, it's all about accuracy and being on time. Like, getting accurate books is great, but if you get them 3 months late, it's too late to make any decisions. And making decisions quickly is great, but it doesn't mean anything if you're making it on bad numbers. So it all has to come together.
Yeah. I think one of the big things that when we made a decision to switch to you guys is there was a question between categorization between capital expenditures and just just repairs and maintenance or something. And I was very adamant that these expenses, it was like $25,000 or $30,000 worth, said that's a capital expenditure. And they're like, well, what's the big deal? And I'm like, it's a big deal because if I want to have an investor look at my business and I'm $20,000 to $30,000 in extra expenses, that looks a lot less healthy than, hey, I invested $30,000 on this side of the business so we could grow the business.
Yeah, and I mean, there's lots of different IRS rules that are always changing and nuances of bookkeeping, and that's why you really need someone that knows what they're doing. And to kind of get off topic a little bit, but relevant, it's why, like, hiring a solo bookkeeper, especially if you don't have a finance background, is a little risky because you're not going to be able to check their work. It's why hiring like one firm that does your taxes and your bookkeeping is a little risky because there's no checks and balances there, and they usually specialize in one or the other. You really want a bookkeeping service like ours, but there's others out there where, yeah, you have a bookkeeper, but the books get reviewed before they go out to you, and there's always a higher level person. I believe you've met Shelia, who's incredible. Yep. She's got 30 years of experience, who you can always pull in for complex or unique situations that just pop up in business over the course of a year. So that's one of kind of our selling points, is having that double check of, hey, like, this is a unique situation. Let's talk it out. Let's get full information from the client. Let's do our research and figure out how do we do this correctly by the IRS. So when we pass it over to CPA, it's all correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you tired of scrambling to keep your garden plan on track? Whether you're growing a backyard garden or running a market garden like me, SeedTime is the perfect way to simplify crop planning. With SeedTime's calendar, I can map out my entire growing season based on my exact location and growing zone. It tells me when to seed, transplant, and harvest, all with super easy click and drop system. The task feature is a game changer. I get a daily or weekly checklist that keeps me on track and makes sure I never miss a step. And no losing gardening notes anymore because the Seed Time Journal keeps everything organized in one place on your phone. It's the ultimate gardening calendar, helping me know exactly what to do and when to do it. Plus, we haven't even talked about their layout tool. For a limited time, you get $100 off lifetime access or 40% off your first year when you visit planwithseedtime.com to grab this deal today. That's planwithseedtime.com. Don't miss out on this game changer for gardeners, farmers, and homesteaders. I think, Nathan, I've made every single mistake out there. We hired a solo person on our team who ended up stealing books from us. We hired another solo person that didn't put everything. They said, well, we don't really need that in the contract. And then they ended up not doing what they said they were going to do because it wasn't in the contract. We've had people that aren't giving us clear monthly, they weren't on time. So we have made every single problem there. I think you're absolutely right when you say you need a bookkeeping service that does clean monthly books. And then you need a separate CPA or accountant, and that's the person that's going to do your tax year-end, your taxes. And for our farmers, I typically like to see them hire someone that does know agriculture, because again, there are so many rules on agriculture. But I would say first, you just need to hire someone that knows what they're doing. Don't necessarily just go down to the guy in your town because he's the guy in your town.
That's the biggest mistake I see. People find a local bookkeeper that has no experience in their industry whatsoever, and or they're just not up to times with QuickBooks Online or online bank accounts or whatever it is. So that's a good one. And who you direct your questions to is important as well. Like if you're starting a new business, what is your entity formation? What state should you be registering? Those are all CPA questions. And like Shelly on our team, 30 years of experience, she could file all our clients' taxes if we wanted to, but we want to keep her in the bookkeeping lane and make sure that you're having those conversations with your CPA, because that's what I would do if it was my business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about a business owner who is interested in hiring a bookkeeping service. What are some of the things that they need to do so that they can work best with a bookkeeping service?
Yeah, so first thing you do is stop intermingling personal and business. So if you're doing that in any way, it's okay. Like a lot of people have made that mistake, but stop doing it from this point forward. You need business bank accounts, business checking accounts, business credit cards, and you're not intermingling them in any way. You're not charging your groceries to your business. You're not charging your office expenses to your personal cards. With that, make sure you use a bank that makes it easy. That means view-only access. And you'd be surprised how many banks don't allow view-only access. But just do a check. Go log into your online portal. Can you give a bookkeeper view-only access? There's no need for you to give a bookkeeper full access. I know you said you had some fraud. Luckily, I've never had that. But like from our bookkeeping service, we won't even accept full access from our clients. We only want limited access. I don't think our bookkeepers will do anything, but we just want to keep everyone safe. So business banks, business checking accounts that allow view-only access, and simpler is better. I know there's a lot of profit-first people out there. I'm personally against that. I don't think you need 10 accounts to run most businesses. Start with one business checking account, one business credit card. If you really need two, sure, but you shouldn't need all these different cards and business accounts for most businesses, and you can always add as you go. And then lastly, and we'll actually set this up for you if you don't have it, either QuickBooks Online or Xero. Those are the most common accounting tools. You want to be skeptical of like the benches and the final loops of the world, who they're the only people that use their software, because once all your data, like you work with them for 5 years, you have 5 years of data on there, like they could raise prices, their service could go down, whatever it is, and all your stuff is stuck there. No one else uses their software, and migrating years of bookkeeping data from one software to another never works the way that you want it to. It's expensive. It takes a lot of time. So QuickBooks Online and Xero is the way to go. If you don't like my service or another bookkeeper's service, you remove their access, you move the access to someone else. All the CPAs in the world know how to use QuickBooks. Most of them know how to use Xero. Use the most popular tools. The tools that are free for a reason. You'll outgrow them, or it'll be hard to find bookkeepers that use them. So that's kind of the basic setup. Keep it separate, less amount of accounts, view-only access important, and QuickBooks Online or Xero.
Okay, so because we used to use Peachtree, did not like it. We had somebody who decided that's what they wanted, and so we let them do it, but it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. I would never recommend them as a company again. And what bank do you have? A specific online bank that you like? I think I see in one of your documents you said Mercury.
Yeah, Mercury's a great one. Bank of America is pretty good. Chase is pretty good. Like most of the big banks allow view-only access. So yeah, I mean, I just make sure if you're using like a small local bank or an online business bank only that they allow view-only access, and most of them do. And avoid like the fintech company banks that aren't really banks.
Yes. Yeah. When you say fintech, the financial services, you would be like something like a Relay, because actually we're on Relay, but we've had some issues.
Yeah, so I'm actually not that familiar with Relay, and I'm blanking off the top of my head of like some of the online ones. Basically, make sure wherever you're storing your money, and this is personal or business, is actually a bank. And they're supposed to have FDIC insurance. All the words that they put around that can kind of be misused, and there's a lot of lawsuits around it. Bottom line, they need to be a real bank. They don't have banking partners. They are the bank, and that's where you store your money. And just be very careful about that. If you go to like the Planet Money podcast or whatever, there's tons of horror stories of people who put all their money in something that they thought was a bank, and it was really a different bank, and none of their money was insured. That company went under. You lose your life savings. Same thing in business. So use a real bank.
Yeah. You're not going to make your money in a business by choosing something that has a high interest rate or it gives you points back and stuff like that. That's not the way to try to make your money.
Yeah, agreed. If it seems too good to be true, it seems too good to be like, it is too good to be true. If someone's offering you a 9% interest rate on a checking account, do your research. Don't just blindly go into it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So then the separate bank account, separate credit cards, receipts and stuff. Do you recommend folks do upload their receipts to QuickBooks? Is that a good practice?
Honestly, the best way that I've done it is you have a billing email or accounting email. Accounting or billing at econbalance.com is ours. And whenever I have a receipt that's not a digital copy, whenever I get a digital copy, I just forward it right there. And whenever I'm out to dinner or whatever it is with my business partner, I take a picture and I text it, and it goes right to that email. And knock on wood, hopefully I never get audited, but if I did, I'll have every receipt going back, dated, exactly right there, ready for them. And it's a lot less work than putting in QuickBooks. As long as you're keeping the receipts, you're fine, and just keep it organized. Just forward it all, so it's just all in one place. If you ever have to look for it, you don't want to have to go back 3-4 years and try to dig up all your receipts. Just take a picture, send it to the right place. It's quick, it's easy, and it accomplishes the same thing.
That's right. Give the IRS the login and say, you go knock yourself out. Make them do the work.
You're right.
All right. So let's talk. We have our bookkeeping with you guys. Talk a little bit about your bookkeeping service. What makes it different? How can people get in touch?
Yeah, the cool thing about us is it's built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. Connor and I, we're systems people. We care a lot about the customer experience, and we're good at a lot of the things that bookkeepers are not good at. Even a bookkeeper that is good at the bookkeeping part, they might not be good at the customer service, the scaling, the hiring, the systems, the onboarding. That's what we specialize in. So you can go to our site, give us a little bit of information, show us your current books. We'll get you a quote. We only offer one thing. We have no upsells, no add-ons. Charge you on the first, books by the 15th each month. You can get a sample report of what you get from us right on the website. You get an assigned bookkeeper. They're your bookkeeper. We do everything possible not to switch bookkeepers on you, and they respond within a business day at all times. And like I mentioned before, there's always a team leader and controller above them if anything more advanced comes in. Your books get checked before they go out to you, and our focus is on time, accurate books every single month with great customer service behind it, and we want to make it as hands-off for you as possible going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because we just did the onboarding with both the companies we moved over, your onboarding system was great. It was very well laid out. It was, and then if I had a question or something, your folks immediately got back to me. And then after that, after we give you all the access, then you guys do the onboarding call. And that's where we go over everything, just make sure that we're all on the same page, which was nice.
Yeah, the first year we learned a lot about how to create a good onboarding experience and just made a lot of tweaks. And I mean, the key is we want to make sure that we're getting everything, right? We don't want to, onboard you and then find out there's 2 bank accounts that were never brought up, and then we have to go back and everything's delayed and no one's happy. So for us, it's about, hey, let's make sure we know which accounts were used, we know which accounts are not being used, we remove the personal accounts, we make sure that we have view-only access to everything, any loans that you have, documents, statements, whatever, make sure we have everything. Give my team a chance to review it, have a kickoff call with you, go through your business, understand your business so we're not asking you the same questions every single month. Give you a chance to ask questions and tell us anything that we should know, and then hit the ground running, whether we're just doing like 2025 going forward or we're going back a year, whatever it is, giving our bookkeepers a chance to be successful because we hand over everything at once, get you to that current month as quickly as possible, and then you're on a good monthly process going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for coming on today. Any final words before we go?
No, hit me up. I always love connecting with other entrepreneurs. Michael knows I respond pretty quick. Nathan Hirsch on any social media channel. Nathan at econbalance.com if you want to work with me on bookkeeping. And mention this podcast, and your first 2 months are free. So would love to work with you.
Yeah, and you're killing it on X. You've got some great posts on X.
Appreciate it. That was my new project for 2024.
Yeah, you've got some really nice stuff on there. I've been following that. So, yeah. All right, Nathan, thanks again. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.